Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning. I have a video about pressure and how as a manager you can produce a lot of pressure out of your team, and pressure is what leads to speed and speed is what leads to sales. That's a big part of what I think a lot of shops don't get, is that they want to get their sales up but they're not fast, and the reason they're not fast is because they don't have enough pressure coming from the front of the house, back of the house. So the number one job of a manager is to produce pressure. Now that pressure leads to speed and speed leads to sales. Here we're going to talk about how you create pressure as a manager, and I'll give you very clear ideas on how to do that. So number one, staffing. If you have too many people standing around, especially in front of the house, what happens is you have a lot of people and not enough work, which means there's not enough pressure. How do you fix that? Unfortunately, you got to get rid of people. And this is one of those things where I've always said that the pipe is your team and how many people there are, and the work is the fluid going through there. So if you don't have enough work and you have too much team, the pressure drops. But how do you do that? You decrease the size of the team, the pipe gets smaller, and therefore the pressure rises. On the other hand, if you have too many cars and not enough team, you're gonna have a lot of pressure, but sometimes too much pressure is not a good thing either, and you can lose sales, but that's a topic for another day. So once again, if you've got 3 people sitting around and you don't have enough cars, probably not a good idea. So my rule of thumb is easy. It's about 8 cars per person on the front counter per day. So if you've got 16 cars, 2 people can really handle them, be a little tight near the end. The 17th car might break you, so that's why you may want to have 2.5 people when you're having 16 to 20 cars. At the 24 car mark, you definitely want to have at least 3 people up front, maybe even 3.5. So remember, 8 cars per person on the front counter. And how I do that is just so you know, you get about an hour per person per car, and the other hour in the beginning of the day is for cleaning, closing, etc. So 8 is usually the number I've stuck to, and it's worked out very well for us. More on that later. So remember, too many people, you got to send people home. If you have less than 16 cars per day, you got to have at least minimum 2 people, because I don't want to have 1 person on the front, but you don't want to have that 3rd person. Okay. Number 2, no sitting on the front of the house. So meaning, if the first half of the day, I don't want my front of the house sitting unless you're selling actively. If you're not selling actively, I want your butt running around that shop, and I want you to have the front of the house, back of the house, you want to run all over the place, but ideally stay on that front counter, greeting customers, writing up customers, and taking those clipboards to the back so they can get those cars pulled in. Number 3, stay up front. So if you're a front of the house person, please stay on the front counter and wait for those customers. If you are, not even on the front counter and the customer walks in right out of the gate, you're showing bad speed, you're waiting 30 seconds to greet a customer, you're absolutely ruining the thing right out of the gate. Please don't do that. Number 4, if you're a manager, follow the ticket. What that means is that when a car comes in, you may not write up the customer, but you're there watching that write up. You're there taking that ticket to the back. You're there watching the inspection. You're there taking it back to the front of the house guys to sell. You're following that ticket, meaning you're just pushing that ticket back and forth and back and forth. So what that allows is it actually accelerates the speed of that initial sell. And remember, guys, initials is where you want to be the fastest on. If you mess up the initial, you are toast. Number 5, 6, whatever this is, watch the board. The board is there for a reason, and I'll just add another part in there. Wear a watch. If you guys know, I wear a watch all the time. I never leave my house without a watch, and whenever I have, I feel like I'm naked because I'm watching that watch. And this is just a habit at this point after doing this 15, 16 years. When a car comes in, I make a mental note. All right, this thing came in at 11:30. And of course, we have it in Techmetric, but I've always used a watch, and I'll watch that thing and I'll be like, dude, that thing's been here for 10 minutes. What the heck's going on? Why is that ticket not up front? Why isn't that car looked at already? Why isn't that car inside the bay? So watch the watch. And if you watch the time, you're going to find out very quickly how fast your team is. Of course, if you're doing a speed thing and a pressure thing, time was your best friend. And finally, and probably the most important, if you want to ignore everything we teach, everything in this video, if you're a new guy and you just started and you just want one piece of advice that's going to make you successful in this company, especially the first 6 months, it's one word: run. Don't walk. When a car comes in, run, jog. We're not a company that walks around, that meanders around. If you've worked with me in a store, you find out very quickly that I only have one gear when I'm in a shop, and that's run. I don't have 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. I'm in top gear right out of the gate, and so are all my managers. That's how you rise up to the top of the food chain. That's how you rise up to the top of any company in the service area, because speed equals sales, and those who run, they know how to create money out of thin air, because the customers value speed, because their time is valuable, and if you can deliver something fast, you're going to get paid more to do it. Thank you so much, guys. I hope this helps.